Good. So now we're recording. So, so before we begin, I just want to acknowledge the people who can't be with us live tonight. Danny is here in Germany, and she had some things she had to sort out today that we'll be recovering from through the next weeks. And we have Lotta and Lena and Melanie, Sweden, and Melanie's also here in Regensburg. So they may join us in the recorded version of this either later today or tomorrow. So this practice is sort of the opposite of last week's practice. And when we look at the sort of the philosophical background of yoga, the Sankhya model of reality, one of the ways it looks at sort of the flow of nature is sort of three aspects. One is an aspect that's calm energy, one is a very energetic energy, and then there's sort of a balanced energy in the middle. And the flow of reality, the flow of nature is sort of moving from these extremes. And this low energy, tamasic energy it's called, can be calm, can be quiet, or if there's an excess, can be heavy and a bit stuck. And the other end of the spectrum is this rajasic energy, which gives us the fire to really do things and take action, but too much of it can be irritating. And sattva is in the middle, and this is the sort of balance of these things. And so the idea with these practices, these movement practices, breathing practices, the inner practices, is that life will continue always moving through these gunas. But as we become a little more practiced with our own experiences and reactions to these changes with nature, we are a little bit less like a ping pong ball just getting bounced around as nature changes around us. And so we come to these practices, we can do practices that lift the energy, practices that calm the energy, but we approach these practices not from a perspective of trying to fix it or change it, but we use the practice that is appropriate for us at the moment. So the practice today will begin really simply, just bringing one hand somewhere on the chest and one hand somewhere on the belly. And you can do this lying down. You can do it sitting up. And just stop and feel. It's like a quiet space of waiting and watching. So there's some words from T.S. Eliot I'll bring in and combining with my own words. And this is the image that stays in my mind when I do this particular technique of just feeling, having contact with the hands and the body to notice what is happening, what's the physical experience. Because we know that these shifts in our emotions, our perception, are not necessarily choices or thoughts. There's an experience happening within our system. And Eliot said, "Be still and wait without hope. For hope would be hope for the wrong thing. Wait without love, for love would be the love of the wrong thing." So if you can wait without thought, so as we be still, as we touch our body, as we feel the experience, rather than considering, what can I do to change this? What can I do to fix this? This great question came in the last few months when we were working with the inquiry yoga. This question of, what am I feeling? or something that comes to my mind when I'm feeling uncomfortable in my body mind sometimes is, what is this sensation? And staying just a moment with that question, not needing to have the answers, but just feel for a moment. What is this experience now? Is my mind buzzing? Is there a sense of comfort and safety? Is there a feeling of agitation? Even a sensation that is beyond words, not having to name it, but just recognize that it's there. And then in this space of openness to what is happening, we just invite the breath to join us there. So consciously deep breathing a little bit deeper if possible. Don't have to use technique like Ujjayi. In fact, in times of strong emotions, I find that breathing through the lips can be a way to help me feel a little more connected with the flow of the breath. And sometimes that Ujjayi technique that we use when we're moving can be a little irritating. So if that is your habitual breath technique, see what it feels like to breathe with an open throat, through the lips or through the nose. And if the arms get tired, you can change positions to something more comfortable, or just let the arms come down and rest on your lap. And then you can continue with the hands in this position. Otherwise, we'll repeat the movements that we did last week using the introduction to the Gayatri mantra, but I'm going to change the timing a little bit. So the chanting at each point will be one whole breath. So it'll be a little slower. Om Puh Om Puvaha Ogum Suvaha Om Maha Om Janaha Om Tapaha Ogum Satyam. And as we come to the opening mantra of Sahana, just ask you to turn the palms of the hands up. They can be on the lap or they can be to the side. And sometimes we use this visualization to feel a sensation of reaching out to everybody who's connected here online. So from Sweden to Hilo, Hawaii, through Washington State, Regensburg, Germany. But now I'm going to ask that with the palms of the hand turned up, the image is more receiving energy from everybody in this circle of people. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Punaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvina Vati Tamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And with all that energy from this group of people, we can bring the palms of the hands now to the heart just for a moment. Bringing that energy in. Just feeding the heart with community. And then we can come to the floor. So last week we started standing and came down to a resting. So we're going to sort of reverse this flow of movement. So we'll start by lying down. So lying on the back. Take a moment to notice your body. If you need a little support for the head and neck, take a blanket or pillow, whatever feels comfortable. So depending on what you've been doing today, there might be some tightness and tension in the neck. And feel just for a moment this transition. So the muscles of the back can relax, muscles of the shoulders can relax, jaw and face muscles can relax. As you relax the face, you might even become aware of the fact that gravity is pulling down on the sides of the cheeks. The eyes relaxing, forehead relaxing. So attentive but restful. And if you've been up all night with a teething baby, this might be enough to help you take a little nap. Feel free. Otherwise, keep your attention there. And we're going to start very, very simply. Just take one knee up, foot comes off the floor. Bring the hands to that knee. And just pause a moment. Maybe pull the knee a little bit towards you. Notice what you feel in the hip and back. Begin to integrate the breath. You can use the Ujjayi technique if that supports you. And the inhale, let the knee move away just a little bit. Exhale, pulling it towards you a little bit. So one foot firmly on the floor. Inhaling and exhaling, pulling that one knee closer. And just for simplicity, let's check the second side. So moving simply in this sort of calming, quiet space. Feel the other hip, the other side of your back. Gently pull the knee towards you and away. Using the Ujjayi breath if that feels like a nice way to connect with the breath. after a few times on that second side, try both knees up, simple Apanasana. We're going to integrate movement of the head here. Again, a simple movement. As you inhale, let the chin lift up, the back of the neck contracting just a bit. As you exhale, drop the chin down towards the throat as you pull the knees towards you. So inhale, chin up, knees move away. Exhale, chin down. Continue moving. Just notice how much or how little mobility you feel in the spine, the top of the spine, the neck. If there's any restriction or tightness. And then a very simple variation. We're going to alter. One knee comes down as the other knee goes away. So keep the head neutral. Breathing and just shifting. Knees, one moving close as the other one moves away. And then we're going to hold that position. So one knee moves towards you, the other knee is moving away. And you're going to let the head turn away from the arm that's outstretched. So I have my right knee moving away from me, so I turn my head to the left. See if you can find a sensation of a little bit of traction here between the neck and the shoulder by this hand holding nice and firmly to that knee moving away. So it's almost like that leg is pulling the arm away from the shoulder joint. After a few breaths there, you can change to the second side. And then eventually with both sides down, come to resting, both feet on the floor. Again, feeling the safety, the comfort of the floor beneath you. And we'll move to a simple Dvipada Pitam, a little bridge posture. The arms can be whatever position feels comfortable for you. So just a few times first, inhale, lifting. Not too high, so the body's not super warm, just more about feeling mobility of the spine. Let's try inhaling up and exhaling down. And then in whatever way you like, you can integrate movement of the arms here, a little mobility for the shoulders. So you can sweep the arms if you have space for that. Or maybe the arms down and above the body and up above the body. So whatever you have space for in your room. It's fine if you have to bend arms to fit into the space where you're practicing. If you haven't already, maybe integrating a little bit of neck movement. So as you come down, you can turn the head to one side. As you come up, the nose points up towards the ceiling. And alternating the turning of the head as you come down. So when the energy is strong and vibrant, we can start practices standing like we did last week, really lifting and using that capacity. But as we feel a little softer, a little more still, let's start in this simple movement. Eventually, very simply from here, let the knees just move side to side, just a little bit of rocking. And then let's wake up the feet and legs. So one thing that I've found when energy is low, when the body feels quiet, is I start the movement from the feet and move my way up the body. So let's take one knee towards you again. You can keep the hands on the floor, or if it feels nice, so you can keep the hands here behind the leg. We're just going to inhale, lift up, extend the leg, exhale, release. So as you lift up, flex the foot as if you're activating the muscles all along the front side of the leg. Exhale, bend. See where your energy is, where your attention would like to be, so you can hold firmly on the leg. Feel that nice connection. If you want to do a little more with the arms and shoulders, you can lift the arms as you lift the foot and bring the arms back down. So whichever variation serves you. Just feel backside, front side of the leg. Hip is working naturally, the knee as well. And eventually stay here a little bit longer. You can do it with support of the hands on the leg or a strap. I know that Danny likes to use a strap when she does this. So we can keep the foot flexed here. If you enjoy the arms overhead, reach up and lengthen the sides of the body. So hold here with the foot flexed for a few breaths, just to feel the strength of the front side of the leg, lengthening or stretching sensation in the back side of the leg. Begin to slowly move the foot. I like to start with moving the foot side to side or pointing and flexing. Just notice the awareness of the ankle, how it is supported through the muscles of the legs. Side to side, point and flex, circles if you like. And just do enough movement that you start to feel a bit of heat, blood flow to the foot, to the ankle, to the lower leg. Just inviting the blood, inviting the prana down to the feet. And then once you feel that warmth and heat, we're just going to lower the leg down, hands down, and pause for a moment. And then we bring that activated foot back to the floor. Try the other side. So either holding the leg or letting the arms move. Inhaling, foot comes up and flexes. Exhaling down. Again, just notice the knee, the leg, the ankle, the hip. Notice variations from this side compared to the other side. Variations in mobility and sensations. And after several rounds, again, just holding the leg up, feeling the strength, the front side of the leg from the top of the toes all the way down to the hip flexor. This hip stays nice and solid on the floor. Feeling that lengthening or maybe tightness behind the leg. Notice if you feel more in the calf muscle or in the hamstrings or behind the knee. And as you feel ready, just begin to move the foot to help build that awareness of the ankle and how it's supported by the lower leg and the foot. Point and flex from side to side. As you feel, you can make circles. Circles are interesting. Notice if there's any limitations to the range of movement of the circle. With this foot, for example, for me, I can't turn counterclockwise because of an old injury. Something bumps against something else, and it's a very uncomfortable feeling. So again, just moving until you feel the heating, the warmth of those small balancing muscles through the tops of the feet, the ankle. And as you feel that, release and just let the circulation come. And then from here, we can move to a simple twist. You can either keep the feet on the floor like we've done before, with the feet nice and wide, or bring the knees up if that feels good. As you feel ready, as you exhale, twist with the knees as if you're going to bring them up towards the elbows. Inhale, come up. Exhale, twisting. Just keep moving with your breath. Choosing the head position as well. So if you like, you can let the head turn to one side or the other as you're twisting, or you keep the head at the center. So on days where the energy is low, I call this my rolling around on the floor practice. But just these movements bring the circulation. Circulation brings energy. With the breath, we can guide this energy into a more balanced experience in our body. So if the body or emotions are feeling dull and heavy or tamasic, moving this prana around will help shift that. If there's a feeling of agitation, moving the body in this way can help shift that as well. Inviting the imbalances back to center. So like this movement, going from one side to the other side, always transitioning through the center. And eventually we'll come back to the middle. Bring the feet to the floor, the ankles touching, thighs touching. And just inhale, open. Exhale, bring it together. And with this motion, you can come back to this image of that center line where we chanted the mantra through. So as we inhale, left and right, and as we exhale, we bring left and right together through the center channel of the body. And then one more simple posture before we shift off the floor. We're going to lie on one side here. I recommend having a pillow or something high enough here that your head can feel comfortable so your shoulder doesn't feel crushed. I have to be gentle with my shoulder. So the higher the head is, the less pressure is on the shoulder here. And you're going to imagine there's a line from your shoulder to your hips to your feet. So the feet aren't too far forward. They're sort of in line with the shoulders, with the hips. And this, I want to give credit. This position came to me through Lota many years ago, who learned it from a physical therapist, was helping her with her SI joint discomfort. And I found it to be a really nice way to engage and activate these hip abductors. So the posture we just did is sort of waking up this inner leg, and this movement is a nice way to activate these outer muscles of the hips. So we're just going to keep the feet together. Keep the hips where they are, so don't let them roll back. Imagine there's like a wall behind you. And just going to inhale, lift up the knee as far as you can without the hips moving, and exhale down. So inhale. So it's a small movement, because once you roll the hips, then you're activating different muscles. So this is just the abductors, inhaling up and exhaling down. And you're just going to keep doing this little movement and see if you can become aware of the small muscles around your hip, the abductors. Because what happens is you limit because you hold the position the way you're holding it, you're restricting the bigger muscles from helping out too much. So this is really just the small muscles of the hips. I was very aware of these muscles when I was pregnant. I remember that because they were very weak. So as these muscles wake up, you'll start to feel a heating, a warming pretty quickly. So when I do this regularly, I do 12 to 15 breaths. And when you feel that heating up, then just rest for a moment and let the muscles relax. Notice what you feel. And then after a brief pause, you're just going to do another round. Inhaling up and exhaling down. One of the ways that I've done this on my own is doing the spiral breathing. So 12 breaths with mantra. And the goal is not to increase the range of motion. It's just to keep the range of motion limited so that you're able to focus on the muscles of interest. So you can feel the hips, the butt start to burn just a bit. So we warm up the feet and ankles, we warm up the legs and hips. And then again, as you feel that heat, let it rest. So we'll do 2 rounds in this practice today. So I'll rotate. So I'm not giving you my backside. You can just rotate over to the second side. Again, find that line, shoulders, hips, feet. Feet stay together. And just inhale and down. Don't let those hips roll back. And depending on what's happening with your body, so we have Heather, whose body went through a pretty big shift recently in her second child coming through her into this world. So it's a really useful time with this simple sort of movement to observe differences between the left and right side. So if you have one side that you feel that heating, that warming very quickly, and another side that might be able to do many, many more repetitions. So just see. And like before, as you feel the awakening, as you feel the heating, you don't have to push it to burn. This isn't a fitness class. This is just waking up, sending the energy, sending the warmth. After a rest, you're continuing. And notice here, so you're very focused in this movement. And what's nice here, you're really focused on a small set of muscles, shoulders, neck, head, relaxed, comfortable. You don't have to hold the head up. So the rest of the body is in a very passive, very yin-like position, just moving until you feel that heat. When you feel like you've done both sides, we're going to move to the hands and knees. Welcome, Catherine. I see you there. I know you came in a bit earlier. So as you transition, hands and knees requires a little bit more energy. So we're not even going to come to standing today. So we're going to keep it low. We will come up to hands and knees and eventually to sitting as well. But as you come onto the hands and knees, take a little time. Feel your spine. And eventually we'll do Chakravakasana. So I'm not doing Chakravakasana today because I have some had some treatment on the skin on my back. So I have some wounds that I cannot stretch without a lot of irritation. So I'm not going to be doing the deeper forward folding. So to begin with, you can just move the spine, shoulders, feel contact of the hands on the floor. Take a few breaths. And as you feel ready, you can do Chakravakasana, so moving the hips back, head to the floor. And inhale, coming back up to hands and knees. So just moving with your own breath. Inhale up to the hands and knees. Exhale, hips to the heels, head to the floor, all the way back. So you do whatever version works for you. I'm just going to do a halfway version so there's not so much rounding in my back. You can do the version of this posture with both knees in a symmetric orientation, or that asymmetric version that we do sometimes where one knee is forward and one knee is back. Just moving, noticing the mobility and freedom in the spine or any restriction that you might feel. And eventually, as you feel ready, we'll move into a downward dog kind of position. So inhaling here, exhale, lifting up into a downward facing dog. Inhale down and up. And if inversions don't feel right, then just continue with Chakravakasana. If this inverted position feels comfortable for you, you can stay in it for a few breaths. If you're staying in the posture, you can work one leg a little differently than the other, maybe lengthening one side after the other.
Notice the hips as well. Any variations that might be useful for your hips, welcome to feel and try and play with. I find this a great advantage of the online classes is that you don't feel the need to conform quite as much to what the person next to you is doing.
We'll come back down. Sit on the heels for a moment. Notice what you feel in the hands, in the arms. So we're sort of moving the energy upwards. In a way that is sort of circling back to the center of the body. So let's come to a seated position. And let's do simple Paschimottanasana. So I'll share, you guys are experienced practitioners here. I'll just share how I approach this when I have an array of students with different abilities, different body shapes. So, there's all kinds of variations we can do. One of the things I focus on is this idea of finding the contact between the belly and the legs. So I usually start if a class full of people with different body shapes and mobility. We'll start with everybody having the legs bent, even the super bendy people. And as we exhale, we just bring the low belly, mid belly, chest, shoulders, head forward. As we come up, we do the opposite. First, the back of the neck raises, shoulders pull away, mid back engages, and you peel the stomach away from the legs. And as you exhale, do the same thing in reverse, belly, chest, shoulders, head. And so depending on your mobility and the proportions, so if we have a little more in the front side of the body, thicker legs, thicker belly, it might be more comfortable to keep the legs wider apart. So we have a little space to bring our body forward and back up. And of course, for those of us with quite tight low backs, keeping the bolster under the hips is another way to move forward. So whichever version of this kind of movement feels good to you, just focus on this belly to the head and head to the belly. And then of course, you can do whatever you like with the arms from there. So this becomes a much stronger movement if you lift the arms and bring them in front of you, but you keep doing the same movement with the back. The arms stay down first, the head and arms lift together, then the shoulders, then peel it away. And so for those with more mobility through the back and the legs, you can straighten the legs and do the same movement. Just be gentle with bringing the arms forward. If you're a bit hypermobile, you might be lacking some of the integrated strength to carry the arms safely. And then eventually just stay in this forward type of position. So here I'm using the bending of the knees to inhibit more stretching in the back to protect my skin. But at the same time, I can drop the head and get the benefit of lengthening the back of the neck and also lengthening the low back where I don't have the issues with stretching. And then we'll come up. And sit in some way with the legs crossed, either on a cushion or if sitting on the floor is comfortable, just sit on the floor. And then we'll come into some sort of twisting position. One nice variation that Mirka's been working with is coming from a position like this and doing a twist. Maybe let's try that today, because that was a really nice, simple variation. So you don't have to worry about crossing the legs and the hip mobility. So have one leg bent, one leg forward. So whatever leg is forward, take the hand on that side and bring it somewhere behind you. Inhale the other arm up, and exhale, just touch the outside of this leg as you twist. Inhale up. Exhale to the outside of the leg. So just do that a few times, inhaling and exhaling. So this is a nice variation. It's not quite as restricted and locked as crossing the legs, I find. And then after a few rounds, just stay in the position. Bring some attention to the neck. What feels more useful for your neck, shoulders? Looking forward, looking back. After a few breaths, just unwind yourself for a moment. Pause. When you feel ready, we'll try the second side. So inhale, the other arm comes up, and exhale, twisting. And just a few times, inhale up, and exhale, twisting. So keeping the body up, so the head stays up towards the ceiling, just twisting around the spine. It's a little different than how we've done this. Leg position is usually with Janu Shirshasana, it's a forward fold. So this is a seated twist. Good. And then after a few breaths, stay in the position. Take some attention to the neck. Notice what feels more useful. Looking forward, looking back, looking in some other place in the center of those two extremes. Whenever you have a sense of completion on the second side, just come back to the center, let yourself unwind. Here you can, if you'd like, straighten the legs again and do another Paschimottanasana, the seated forward fold. Or if you're comfortable moving forward with the knees, with the legs crossed, you can just come forward as much as feels comfortable. So you don't have to do a super deep forward fold, just let your body move forward. And then we're going to stay in a seated kind of position. So I'm going to put something under the hips just so it's a little simpler to stay up without as much effort in the hips and the low back. So when I'm doing this energetic sequence, for times, particularly when the beginning of the practice, the energy or the emotions are a little bit still or stuck, I like to rest in a seated posture rather than a reclining posture. Because it's almost like you've warmed everything up, you've lifted everything into a balanced space, not an energetic space, just a balanced space. And so we sort of sit in that space of the center and come back to this idea from the beginning of waiting without thought. I'll remind you of these words. I don't have them in front of me, but paraphrase. T.S. Eliot said something like, wait, be still and wait without hope. For hope would be hope for the wrong thing. Wait without love, for love would be love for the wrong thing. He adds the idea of faith and says that faith and love are both in the waiting. Instead, wait without thought, for you are not ready for thought. So at the beginning of practice, we ask, what is this experience? What am I experiencing? Which is a little different than what do I feel? Because we sometimes bring that to a thought. What is happening in my body, mind? And the question that came up at the end of the series in Inquiry Yoga from, I think it was Lori, something like, what is it that I need in this moment? So watch the experience. And then after practice, after we come back to a sense of maybe a little more balance of energy, we might be able to wonder what I could give to nourish myself in this moment. And at some point, we let go even of the questions. Sit with a sense of resting and watching what it means to be alive in this moment. And if you can just turn the palms of the hands up, whatever position feels right. At the beginning of practice, we had the palms up to receive the energy of the Sangha, of people who join us each week to sit and explore this experience of being human. And at the end of practice, we offer that energy back to the Sangha. So those who need it more can take more. Those who need it less can offer it out. Trusting that what you give and what you receive will be just right. Lokaha samasta sukhino bhavantu. For the benefit of all beings, including yourself. Thank you for your attention. As you feel ready, move out into the world. And just notice how it feels to re-enter the world with this kind of energy and attention.